Hi, this is Steve in my workshop in Bellevue. This is assignment 1 in lesson 2 on the Shopsmith Mark IV 7520 self-study course. In lesson 1, all of the operations were ripping operations, and in lesson 2, which there's 12 assignments, there's going to be all cross-cutting operations. But before we can do that, we need to prepare our stock. And there'll be quite a bit of ripping done first in order to get our stock prepared. So from lesson 1, you should have 7 of these remaining here. These are 1x6s that are 24 inches long. You have 7 of these remaining. So what we're going to do is we're going to prepare these. First, we will rip them down, get 2 pieces 2.5 inches wide out of each one, and then we'll take some of those, and then we will cross-cut those to length. So in this first segment here, we're going to be setting up and doing that ripping operation. So you can see it's still set up from the last assignment where we were doing long rips and tapers. And I just want to cover a couple of things here on the setup just to make sure you double check when you do that. And of course, you can see I have the outfeed support here. I've added some infeed support. You won't have this unless you purchase some extra floating tables for your machine, because your machine only comes with this fixed table and the 2 floating tables. So if you don't have this, then you will probably be using something like this, an adjustable height support stand for infeed support, or some other type of infeed support. But I have this set up for infeed support. When you set this up, want to make sure that your outfeed tables are level with your table, and just use a straight edge to do that, and we're okay there. And same thing on my infeed. I've got this level on my infeed there, and you use the adjustable legs on here to do that. On the last assignment in lesson 1, one person had a question on adjusting these legs, and I want to show that to you here for a minute. And on these supports here, which 2 come with your machine, and you're going to be using one here and one here on your outfeed support, some of you have said that you have difficulty getting these to come off and on easily. Now, see, I have mine adjusted so that I can just slide it. Once I have it there, it'll just easily slide right on. And the way to do that is you have right here this Allen's head screw here. You want to back that off so that you only have just probably maybe a couple of turns of that going into the nut on the other side. And if you get that adjusted properly, then you'll be able to slide that right on there. And once you get it adjusted, you just don't adjust it again. And so I'm just able to easily slide it on and slide it off, and then I do my height, and I'm going to put that back there where it was. So if somebody's having trouble with that, you just have that screw too tight if you're not able to get it on there. So that's what you have to do on that. So a couple of things you're going to learn in this lesson is, one is how to properly prepare stock that you're going to use for a project. That's one thing you learn in this lesson, and that is you do not have to have a jointer to get your stock parallel on both edges. So I'm going to show you in this lesson how to do that. And the first thing we do is we rip this. Your stock should be 5.5 inches wide. So we're going to first rip them all to 5 1/4, every one of these pieces. And then after we rip them to 5 1/4, we'll flip the board over, and we'll flip it to, and we'll rip it to 5 1/8. And that'll make sure that both edges are completely parallel with each other. Then after we've done it to 5 1/8, then we will set our fence to 2.5 inches, and we will run that through twice to get each piece of 2.5 inches. So right now I'm going to do that first cut at the 5 1/4 inches. And after I do this first, after I run the first one through at 5 1/4, I'm not going to have you stay here and watch while I do all the rest of them. After I do the first one, Dottie will pause the video, and then when I'm done doing the others, we'll resume again when we get to the next cut. So I'm going to switch over to my eye protection here. And in these lessons, you'll notice in the written assignments that we're not being as detailed in every single step. You should be able to adequately set up your machine and do these simple operations at this point without having step-by-step instructions for everything. So I'm going to assume that you've already done your 7-step safety check. I'm going to go ahead and do mine right now. Then I'm going to do my motor lock, my quill lock, trunnion lock, carriage lock, table height lock. My machine's firmly in the ground. I've got nothing on my auxiliary spindles, and I'm using my upper saw guard. So I'll go ahead and do this first cut. And it's a little sticky here. The reason it's sticky is because when you buy the Big Dot Store, something they put stickers on there, and I removed it, and now it's hard to move past there. So I'll just flip it over the other side and do it that way. Okay. So after this piece is fed all the way through, then Dottie's going to pause the video there. Forgot one item here. Forgot my feather board. Okay, now that we've ripped all of these to 5 1/4, I've reset the fence to 5 1/8. I've turned the stock around so that now that the edge I just had, that I just cut, is now away from the fence, and so now we're going to rip these again. And again, I'll do the first one, and then Dottie's going to pause this while I do the rest. Now I'll need to readjust my feather board now that I've cut some off of it. Okay. All right. So after I cut this one, we'll pause again while I do the rest of them. Okay, on that last one, I misspoke. I said that the cut edge was away from the fence. Actually, the cut edge would be against the fence when we ran that through. So now that we have it parallel, and this is 5 1/8, now we're going to reset our fence for 2.5 inches, and we'll run each piece through twice to get 14 pieces total out of this when I'm done. So I'm going to reset this for 2.5. There's 2.5 right there. Okay. And we'll reset our feather board. Okay, so we'll run these all the way through. Again, Dottie's going to pause this after this first one, and then I'll do the rest, and then I'll see you in a minute here, okay? And we're going to need our push stick for this one. Okay, we go ahead and pause the video now. Okay, so I've just got this last bit to run through, so I'm going to readjust my feather board here to do that. And we'll feed these last set through, and we'll just we'll leave the camera on the whole time for this, okay? Just looking for my push stick here. Here it is. I found it right here. Okay, so now that we've got our stock ripped, in the next segment we will be doing our calibration for our 90-degree for our crosscuts, and we'll be doing our crosscuts, and that'll come up in the next segment. Now that we've ripped our stock to the width we want to have it, we're going to calibrate our 90-degree stop here on our miter gauge. So I have here, we've already ripped 3 pieces of this hardboard, your 2 by 2 foot. One of those pieces, we've ripped 3 pieces this size here, and we're doing one of them. We're going to do a test cut of that. We'll check it, and then we'll, if we need to adjust our miter gauge, we'll do that, and then we'll use each of the other 2 pieces to do additional test cuts if we need to. So you notice here I've reconfigured the table a little bit. I've removed those out feed tables. I've removed the in feed table, and I just have the main table here with a support table here on the left, and that's all we need to do this for this calibration portion here. So I'm already set up here to cut this off to my first cut. The miter gauge is already set at the 90 degrees, which you can see here on the protractor here. It's already set. And the stop here, which is, here's the stop pin, and it's right against the stop here. So that's, you want to make sure that's set that way. And you want to have this position so it's approximately in the middle here. And so we're going ahead and put that down, lock it in place. So of course the process here we're to do this is you'll squeeze on the miter gauge, and then you'll hold your stock against it here firmly with this. We will feed that all the way past. When it get all the way past, then I will let go of the grip on here and leave the stock back there, and we will pull the miter gauge back. That's the correct, safe way to do your cross cuts. So let's go ahead and do this first one here. But before I do that, I need to get my hearing protection, my eye protection. And I think we'll pause here while we do that. All right, now that I have my hearing and my eye protection on, we're ready to start. We've already done the 7-step safety check, so I'll turn on the dust collection machine and we'll do this cut. You can do a close-up of this, okay? All right, so now to check for our accuracy on our 90 degree, I know in the instructions it said use your rib fence on the work table, but actually I'm just going to do it right here on the main table with one of the pieces of stock that we've already ripped to proper width. So we put this on here. We take each piece here, and we want to set up so we got a little more space here. So here we take both of these, we put it firmly against here, and of course get a close-up of this line here, right here. You can bring the camera over here and see this. You can see it's exactly right next to it. There's no space whatsoever between those lines. You have that there on the camera now? Okay. Now, to check for our 90 degree, we leave everything into place. We take this piece here, we flip it over like this, and we position against here, butt them against each other, and you see mine, it's exactly butting all the way down the line. So this is perfectly aligned now. Mine is calibrated perfectly. If yours is like this or like this, either way, then you're going to have to make adjustments on your stop. Using a flat tip screwdriver here on this one, you'll have to turn it one way or the other. The instructions tell you which way to do it. And after you do that, you'll just get another piece of this, do the cut again, check again. And if it's still not, then you'll get another piece, do it again until you've got these dialed in exactly, perfectly correct. So that's the way you do that to check for your 90-degree accuracy on that. So now that we've done that, we're going to get set up for cutting the other pieces of stock we've done to square and getting the rest of that stock cut to the proper length. To set up for that, we're just going to take one of the pieces of 2.5-inch stock that you've ripped. We're going to use one of those as a sacrificial extension on our miter gauge to have support. So I'm going to position my miter gauge here. Before I do this, I want to chamfer the edges. Now, you don't have to do it on the machine. You can just use a plane right here. I got a block plane here, and I'm just going to chamfer the edges right here with my block plane. So I've got that one done, and now I'm just going to go over and do this other edge here. And I think that's pretty good. So reason we want to chamfer the edges is so that we have some relief when we have this against the fence here. We want to have some relief. Actually, you can't see this from here. Let me turn this around backwards and then you can see it. We want to have relief so that when we're pushing our stock through the fence, you see, I have some space, except I've got this, let's see which side has a chamfer on it. There we go. So I've got a little bit of space between here and the table for sawdust to go under so that it doesn't interfere with my cut when I do that. So that's why we want to chamfer the edges. When I'm looking here, I really need a little bit more chamfer on that. So I'm going to run the plane down through it a few more times. So just bear with me while I get that finished up here. So I've done more chamfer on there, so I got more space down there for dust collection now. So now that we have the chamfer put on there, we're just going to attach that to our miter gauge. And you want to position it. We want to have the extension going, about just slightly past the insert here, about where we want to have it. And you don't need to drill any holes or anything. Pine is soft enough you can just drive your screws straight in. Just have a 1 1/4 inch. I like to use square drive because then they stay in the screwdriver when I drive it in. I'll just put this one right here. And put the other one over here. Okay, so I've got that attached on there now. So in the next segment, then we'll go ahead and cut those other. I think there's 14 pieces over there. I don't remember how many there are, but we're going to cut those in that next segment. But before I do that, we want to put a kerf in here, and so which means we're going to put this down. I'm going to run this past just far enough to have a kerf cut go all the way through there, and we want to do that first before we do our cut of our stock. All right, so now in the next one, go ahead and cut that stock. All right, so now we're going to square each end of all 13 pieces of stock that we have here. And you can see here I positioned this. You see the curve cut here? I just want to have it right up to the right side of that curve cut here is all I want to do for squaring off each end. So I'll square that, then I will flip this. And the next one, the same thing, I will position that just right past that curve there and square that in. And I'll do that for each of the 13 pieces. So I'm just going to do, I'll do this first one here. You can watch me, and then we're going to stop the video, and so you don't need to watch me do all 13 of them. Okay, so that's what we'll do there. So after I have finished doing this through, and then done the other one, we'll stop the camera there, and so I can do the others. So don't stop the camera yet. I want to explain something to you. You notice the technique on this when we're doing our cutoffs is I push this all the way through. When I cut that, I put that all the way through until it stops. It stops because my extension here runs into the riving knife. So when it stops there, then I release the grip on here. We slide this stock away, all right? And then we pull it back. Please do not, when you get to here, keep a hold of it and pull the stock back with it. Never do it that way. You're going to have problems. Too many potential for problems happening. So make sure you get the technique down when you do this. When you're pushing it up, get to here, you'll feel that hit that. Stop. When you get that, then you release that grip, you pull that away and slide it back. That needs to be your action. So I'm going to do a couple more of these. So I'll let you watch a couple more of these so you can make sure that you understand the technique. Okay, we're going to pause here while I finish to do the rest of it. All right, so in this last segment, we've squared the ends of all 13 pieces. We're going to take out 8 of them. 8 of them we're going to cut into, each one into 2 pieces, 11 3/4 inches long. And I just want to mention one thing on that technique when we were squaring the ends. Okay, you noticed when I squared this end, I flip it like this, keeping the same edge against the fence. Please, when you do it, don't do it like this, because then you have a different edge against the fence. So you want to make sure that you keep the same edge against the fence. Square that end, then flip it over like that. So in case you didn't notice that. All right, so now we want to set this to do 11 3/4. We just take the hook of your tape measure, hook it right on that kerf there, pull this back, and I'm going to take the block here, and I'm going to put this at 11 3/4, which is right there. That's 11 3/4. And we'll just clamp that in place with this clamp right here. And now we can cut all 16 pieces. And we'll just leave that run the whole time. This won't take long, just so you can see me do this. And of course, the technique on this is we're going to put our sock in here, butter it up there. We'll feed it past. Then we'll slide this over and do the next one and do all the pieces. So let's go ahead and cut these. I'd like you to pause it here, please. Okay, now this time, because we have the stop block here, after we push it through, we cannot take this piece and slide it back because we have the stop block here. So now when we do it, when we push it through, and when this hits the riving knife, to safely do it, you need to shut off the motor. And then after shut off the motor, then you release the stock and pull this back. And you'll see me do that. So actually, that's going to take a little bit more time than I thought. So I'll just have you watch me do a couple of pieces that way, just so you understand the technique. But you don't need to watch me doing all 16 of these. So now I guess we'll get started now. So you'll notice the technique is here that when I get here, that hits the riving knife, okay? I hold my stock down, I go ahead and pull that back, all right? And then I shut off my motor. And then I remove this, pull this away, all right? So that is the safest possible way to do it. There is another way you can do it. When you get a little more experience, you can do that, and that is when we get it to right here, and you pull it back, then you can pull that back away and not have to turn off the motor each time. But for right now, for you beginners, please turn off your motor each time. All right, so I'm going to go ahead off camera here and cut the rest of these, and then I'll be back in a minute. Finish. Okay, so now you've got all of your pieces that are cut to length. We've got all the pieces that you're going to need to do for the remaining 11 assignments in the cross-cutting. So you've had plenty of practice how to safely do cross-cutting in this assignment. So we'll see you on the next assignment.